Hey y'all, you're listening to the Legacy, Lyrics, and Life podcast. I'm your host, Shawna Wells, your legacy architect. Welcome. This is the podcast where we'll uncover what legacy really means and the impact we can all have when we are present. Let's get started.
When I think about legacy, I think really deeply about myself, actually. I think about moments where myself has been tested. Most recently, I think we've all been tested as we have experienced a pandemic, multiple lockdowns, and the aftermath of that. And so in this episode, our very first episode, I want us to talk about 3 ways that you can start to think about your personal legacy. And I'll tell you why I want to start here. During the pandemic, I had a lot of time to have conversations in solitude. I took the opportunity to become my best friend. Not that I didn't have any friends. I have a lot of beautiful friends. Hi to all of you. I have a beautiful family, but the most important person in the conversation about legacy is actually you. And so here we were in a moment surrounded by fear, pain, scarcity. And I chose a month in to think from a place of abundance because that's all I had. We didn't know what was going to happen. To the people closest to us that were far away from us, from my dad to my grandmother, to my friends and family, we just didn't know. And so I decided the thing I do know is that I'm here right now. In life-changing moments, especially stressful ones, studies show us that we can make individual and immediate decisions to reorganize our lives based on our priorities and our interests. And I would say the last few years, y'all, have been stressful. Now, I know I got clear, real fast on what I was about and what I wasn't about in the months and weeks and years, legit years of the pandemic. Because I was stressed, y'all. And of course, there were some great moments, but I think we were all collectively stressed. And now, as a collective of people, we're coming to this clearing and something's different, isn't it? It just feels like we're in a different space. So here we are walking around with new lives, new vibes, new playlists. For some of y'all, new favorite movies, new Pelotons, new everythings. We're sorting through this newness. And we're no longer able to hold on to the status quo. We just can't do it. We're like little kids in seats trying to figure out how to move. And so we made some big decisions. We made some small decisions that fundamentally changed the fabrics of our lives. And the reason is because on some level, in some way, shape, or form, in your body, in your mind, body, spirit, you know, when you feel it's just a little off, something didn't align. And as I get to work alongside leaders and have conversations, what doesn't align are the small acts on the way to their personal legacy. Say what a what? Like, what is that, right? So their personal legacy is an opportunity to state the life they want to live. People with personal legacies, they live more aligned lives. They find continuous sources of energy. They build, they sustain, they go after things that fulfill their soul. And they leave lineages. And what I mean by lineages, they leave opportunity, they leave wealth, they leave health for the people coming behind them. So Bell Hooks, Queen Bell Hooks, a writer, an activist, a feminist, a Black woman, gives us the gift of her words. And in her words, she tells us, without definition, we're not going anywhere. And so a personal legacy gives us the opportunity to name and claim personal legacies for ourselves. And for Black and brown people, this is one of the first generations that actually gets to do that gets to come up against oppression, move out of survival, from the hard work, the grinding, the hustle. We get to move away from production as our worth to this idea of a legacy. What does it look like when we thrive? What does it look like when we create pathways for our kids to thrive, for the kids in our care, for the generations coming behind us to feel true liberation? We get to plant those seeds now. We have a little bit more space than our ancestors. We get to actually envision the impact we can have, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 7 generations from now. And a generation, if we really think about it, that's like 20 years is each generation. So we're thinking way beyond today when we think about a personal legacy. We are thinking about what we do that impacts the world forever. So maybe we're just starting to discover the impacts of the decisions that we made in such a profound period of our lives. And maybe we're just getting hip to what that means for who we are. And I would say, instead of us saying things like, "Whoa, girl, it's a trip," or "This is too much," we got to slow down long enough to let our wisdom speak, to actually have the courage to say, I made a change because I wanted to live into a personal legacy. And I'm going to use that personal legacy to continue to make courageous, creative, and liberated choices that deeply connect to the future I want to build. And so as I was sitting here thinking about this idea of personal legacy, I thought about Lauryn Hill, this woman who creates the miseducation of Lauryn Hill. She comes out with an album and she shares with us her commentary on the world. She says to us in one of her songs, everything is everything. Every choice you make is deeply connected to another choice that you're going to make later. And in fact, it's connected to every human you come in contact with. Recently, I watched an interview with her and she talked about why she didn't do a second album. She said, they kept giving me these songs that didn't match my life experience. They didn't match my set of choices. They didn't match the things that were important to me. So I said no. Talk about a woman with a set of principles that align to a personal legacy. She was like, no, I'm not doing something that isn't aligned to what I really believe. So we didn't see a second album. And she reminds us that everything is everything. That is very on brand for Lauryn Hill. And so the question is, what's on brand for your personal legacy? What do you do every single day in the small and big choices that you make to live in to this personal legacy? And when you get the answer to that question, it's almost like you go to the chiropractor, right? When your body is out of alignment, you go to the chiropractor. They move your body around, help it heal, reset it, let you walk a little taller. Your personal legacy does the same thing for your mind, for your body, and for your spirit. Sounds amazing, right? So how do you get one? Well, let me share 3 ways that I've discovered you can get more clear on the legacy that you're building. 1, you got to get to know your lineage. And that's a trip, right? Because our past is a reminder of some really amazing things that have happened. And sometimes it's a reminder of pain. Our lineage tells us about the habits that we've picked up, the mindsets that we picked up, the actions that we picked up, sometimes intentionally and sometimes by mistake. And so knowing that lineage tells us who we have become, how we have gotten to this current moment, the set of experiences that have led us to today, in this minute, right now. The second thing you do is you want to understand who you are in the present moment. Like today, right now, in this hour, in this minute, when you're listening to this podcast on the drive home from work or a walk, who are you truly? What's the work you're doing? Who are you hanging out with? What's your Google search say you do with your time? Who are you? Really ask yourself that question and reflect on it. And then there's a third piece. Envision yourself generations from now. Think about 3 generations from now. That would be 60 years. What is the ripple effect of your life? People are sitting, talking on the porch, reminiscing about your life, who you are. What's the impact? What's the ripple effect of what you did in your lifetime? And as you reflect on those 3 things, start to shape for yourself a statement about the legacy you're leaving. And then you get the opportunity to name and claim it with intention. And if we did that, we could all live lives that are deeply connected to a legacy. We'd say yes more. We'd probably rest a little better. We'd probably say no more, set some boundaries like our friend Lauryn Hill. And we'd actually keep those boundaries in place. Instead of saying, I'm exercise tomorrow, we'd exercise today, because part of our legacy is to create a conversation around health. We remember, like Sister Lauryn Hill tells us, that everything is everything, and we live into the power of our purpose. If you want to learn more about legacy, check us out at wellscoachingandconsulting.com. I have a free workbook for you to check out and start some of these reflections. It includes some questions for you, some opportunities to draw or create and envision a personal legacy that you can really stand behind. And of course, I quote our friend Lauryn, everything is everything. See you next time.